Welcome to the Agent Upgrade Podcast with your hosts Jasmine Alan and Alan Corey, where we learn the strategies of top producing real estate agents so you have the tools to upgrade your own real estate career.
What a great episode we have today. Julian Jackson from Atlanta, EXP Realty. He's fun. This was one of my favorite episodes we've done. He has a lot of information that I think agents can learn.
A lot of energy and just humor. He's just so much fun, and doesn't take himself seriously, and he's really he loves helping people. And I learned a lot from this episode about being an agent and an investor, and how he's kind of gone from nothing to creating this amazing business and wealth for himself. So he's wonderful.
Yeah, and he became a real estate agent after being fired from multiple jobs, which a lot of real estate agents might find themselves in. And he took a really low point in his life and turned it around to be a super successful real estate agent, and he shares how he provides value and then the value he provides to clients. And also he talks about how he fires clients or turns down business that doesn't really fit his mold and model, and can really focus on his clients that he does have, which I think anyone can learn from, that not every client is the best client for you.
Yeah, I agree. Awesome episode. I hope you guys enjoy it.
Let's get to it. Hey, Julian, welcome to Agent Upgrade. You mind introducing yourself for our audience?
Hey, everybody. My name is Julian Jackson. I'm an agent with EXP Realty. Been in the business since 2014, and glad to be here.
Excellent.
Welcome.
Welcome. So I started working with you early on. I think I met you in 2015 when you were just starting out in your career. You had only had a few houses sold under your belt, and I have just loved watching your career explode. So tell us a little bit about your journey.
Okay. Well, yeah, I started in even before I got in real estate, I used to, when I graduated from college. I graduated from college in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And when I graduated from college in Chattanooga, Tennessee, the market was bad for hiring. It was just after the housing recession. And I graduated from college, and I was living there, and I decided after a breakup and me getting fired from a job all in the same month to move to Atlanta. So I moved in with my mom in 2012. So I moved in with my mom, and I'm like, hey, I'm in Atlanta. It's gonna be easy for me to get a job. And like a year and a half later is when I moved out of the house with my mom and got my first high paying job. At least to me, it was a high paying job, and it was paying $60,000. And at that time, the highest paying job I had was $40,000. And I got that. I moved to an apartment in Virginia Highlands off Greenwood. And anyway, I 3 months later, I got fired from that job. And
see a pattern here.
Yeah. So 3 months later, I got fired from that job. And by that time, my girlfriend was moving. Now wife, she moved to Atlanta. And I remember actually sitting on the bed in my mom's house talking to a friend of mine from Chattanooga, and she said, you need to look into real estate. I think it would be great in it. And in my head at that time, I was like, why the heck would I want to be in real estate? You don't need a degree to be in it. In my head, I'm so superior. I have a master's degree. Why the heck would I ever? That's what was going on in my head. And I can fully admit it. And after getting fired numerous times from numerous jobs, I decided, try out real estate and see how this goes. And it was the best decision I ever made. And honestly, if I didn't get fired from those jobs multiple times, I would have never gone to real estate. So that's how I ended up in real estate. And during that time, this new cool thing came out called Uber and Lyft. And I was like, this seems very interesting. And I started driving Uber and Lyft while I was studying for my real estate exam. And it was very interesting to me because I was laughing because I was like, I had this, I was a clinical liaison with this company making $60,000, and I could essentially drive for Uber and Lyft and make about $1,000 a week, which was similar to what I was making at this clinical liaison position. And it just kind of, it kind of made me just realize a lot of times people are going after this cool name, but there's, you could essentially be a plumber making six figures, but when you hear the plumber, you're like, oh, it doesn't sound as sexy as someone who is a clinical liaison. So that's how I ended up getting into real estate. And so it went from 12 homes that first year. Second year I sold like 60 homes. The third year I sold 75 homes. And it's been
So actually, a pet peeve of mine is when I have a bad experience with real estate agents. Typically, it's like you ask them how they get into real estate, and it's like, well, I got fired from 10 of my jobs, and I couldn't get hired anywhere else, so I became a real estate agent. And I'm like, oh wow, and it sometimes is a very difficult transaction, but you've seemed to have taken that sort of I guess, career plan, and you've thrived and you've really sort of been super successful. What do you think you were just not built for a 9-to-5 job, or do you think that sort of was like, hey, you have no plan B and you have to succeed? What is it about you that made it such a lucrative turn of events?
Honestly, I was that guy at the job that people liked and people laughed and was around, like enjoyed being around. At least that's how I would describe myself. And with me being Black and also doing that stuff, it just wasn't a helpful mix because, you walk into most companies in America and unfortunately you still don't see a lot of Black people working at companies, even in Atlanta, but it definitely was the case in places like Chattanooga and stuff like that. So when people are laughing, and then my voice also, it carries. And that mixture of things just does not work well. So it's like, oh, well, I'm the single Black guy at a company. It's just like if there was a single white guy at a company that was also outgoing. So
like, you can't put it into a box. I think that you're just so much like you're a big personality, and I think that you need the freedom to be able to like express yourself. And I love being around you just because you have so much to give and you uplift so many people just by being yourself. And it would be really sad you put into a little box.
Yeah. So I realized that it's just not good for me to be able to like be under someone else's umbrella, because then I'm just not one of those guys that can go under someone else's umbrella and like fit the brand of that other person. A lot of people can do that and do it very successfully. I realized that I am not that guy who's going to fit into someone else's brand unless they're just crazy like me. So.
Were you able to parlay any of your Uber riders and passengers into real estate clients?
I've heard of some agents being able to do that. It was not successful for me just because I feel like when someone is looking at doing a transaction with a real estate agent, like they want someone who is successful in their own right. Many times.
I think, yeah.
And then when there's someone in the Uber, people are like, man, I just want you to get me to where I am. And I'm going to ask you the same questions I always ask every Uber driver. How long have you been doing this for? Like, oh man, this Uber thing is really cool. Do you do this full time or part time? Like, it's very hard to parlay it into something. I've seen one guy who's, he has almost like, I think he had hired a friend to have like a sign that put on the back seat. So it was almost like an in-car taxi cab advertisement of an agent that was not him. So essentially, he paid a friend to drive the car or drive their car, and he paid them money, and he had the card in the back. So then at least there wasn't, I'm being driven by the Uber driver who's also a real estate agent.
I think for be. Like my dream is like, I'm going to be like this 75-year-old little lady, and I'm going to have a few $1 million in the bank, and I'm just going to drive a cab just because it's fun.
Yeah. Now, I will say it was super helpful because I did not realize all the different parts of Atlanta. Just think like when you're going someplace, you just drive in that one direction. You're driving on that main road, whether it's Memorial or Ponce or whatever, but you rarely go onto the side roads unless like Waze or Google Maps is saying like there's an accident and it leads you in a different direction. But when you're driving Uber or Lyft, like you're bringing people to their homes. So then all of a sudden you are going down a specific block and leading them to a specific property. And that was able to help me to see what areas we're going through a gentrification cycle or going through a revitalization or whatever you want to call it. Because you're literally seeing the trash cans in front of a house. You're seeing a house that's, they're popping the top on it. It was very interesting just seeing all different parts of Atlanta, like that Midway. I think it's Midway. It's like right outside Decatur. Anyway, there's Midway Woods. Yes. That's how I found about Midway Woods, because I was driving and I dropped someone off. And at that time, there was just a whole, again, back in 2014, there was a lot of, revitalization going on over there. And I remember I got there, and then I wrote like the address down because I wanted to know what the neighborhood was. And I got back home, went into the FMLS, and I typed, and because I didn't know what the neighborhood was, and I was like, wow, this might be an area that I want to target. I didn't end up targeting it, but it was just one of those areas. It was something that I learned from driving.
So when you say target, are you targeting it as a real estate agent or a real estate investor, or just to know more about it?
That's a good question. Yeah, as a real estate agent. Now, before I got into real estate, I remember talking to my dad that I wanted to get into real estate, and I was telling him that I wanted to be. I randomly drove with this guy, and I didn't know what it was called, and he was driving over to homes that look, abandoned or in bad condition, and he was writing the addresses down. And he's like, yeah, and I'm going to call this person and see if they want to sell their house. And I was like, this is so interesting. What is this? And I told my dad, like, that's something I might want to look into. And he was like, what? He's a bird dog. And I was like, what's that? So so what happened was then I went on to Bigger Pockets, and I started reading like what a lot of people were saying, because I was originally interested in being an investor. But I guess what a wholesaler is an investor that doesn't really have the money to buy it, to actually buy the property. So in many cases, at least. So that's originally the direction I was wanting to go into. And then my dad kind of said, hey, you actually want to be an agent. So that's when I decided to focus on becoming an agent and decided to take the license and everything.
So just to get people up to speed, Bigger Pockets is a real estate investing website, podcast, really great for real estate investing. I just want to clarify if people are asking want to know what Bigger Pockets is. Bird dogging is also something referred to as driving for dollars. If you're a real estate investor, it's just driving around looking for those opportunities, those homes that need work. And but are you an investor as well?
I am. I am now.
So you did turn this into first being a real estate agent and then a real estate investor. And have you sort of had success straddling both those worlds, or do you feel like it helps each side?
Yeah. So when number one, I didn't realize how my terms can be very industry specific. So I appreciate you actually. Bird dog, what's that? So yeah. I apologize. So yes. So when I got into a real estate, at first I want to target Virginia Highlands because that's where I was living. And interesting story. I was watching this video. This guy, he was talking about knocking on doors. So I read it and I got all hyped up, and got dressed up in my my medical sales wear. I had some nice Cole Haan shoes and blah, 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 and went to knock on doors. I got 4 doors down. The cops came out, pulled out. Yeah. And I was like, for knocking on a door. And yeah, so I never did it. I didn't do it again in at least Virginia Highland. But what happened was I was doing some marketing on Zillow, and I kept on getting a lot of people interested in Southwest Atlanta, and like the 30310 zip code specifically. And I thought that was interesting, and it just more and more stuff started happening in that area. And I started looking on Zillow and seeing kind of like where the big agents were, like what agents were actually doing a lot of business there. And at that time, there was like one agent that was doing a lot of business there. And it was just interesting because all these other parts of Atlanta, there's a lot of these like major agents that were doing business in those other places. So I said, this is an area that I think I can target. And then I ended up getting my first listing in that area. And
let me jump in real quick. When you say target, like what does that mean? Or how do you target? Sure, you picked out a zip code, but then what are your next steps? What are you doing online to target? Are you doing mailers? You're obviously not knocking doors, but yeah.
Well, it was so with Zillow, you're able to, at that time, it was much more helpful to agents in my personal feelings. But I was able to go online and essentially purchase marketing. So when you're on Zillow and you're able to, when you are interested in a property, there were 3 agents that would pop up on the side. And those aren't the agents that are the actual listing agents, but they're the people who are paying Zillow to market their face. So someone would click on my name and reach out to me, and then my phone would ring, and then I'm helping them with properties at that point. And hopefully, to sell a house, because I get paid only off commission.
Right.
So that happened multiple times with people reaching out to me about purchasing properties on that side of town. And I started meeting people in the neighborhood.
What was it that you saw in that neighborhood that made you feel like this thing, I'm going to ride this, because it definitely, like when you first got into that neighborhood, there were houses there for like $50,000, $70,000, $100,000. And now we're like in the $500,000 range. So you got in, nobody was really working that part of town. So what is it that you saw that gave you the clue that said, hey, this thing is going to be the next hot thing?
So when I had my first listing there, and it was a house price. It was a rehab property. It was priced at we listed it for about $215,000, and it got featured in Atlanta Curb. And it was like, is West End jumping the, like essentially jumping the shark? To those who don't know, jumping the shark means
it's the Fonz, right? The Happy Days.
Yes, the Fonz from Happy Days. Yes, but yeah, so pretty much I listed that house, and when I listed the house, a bunch of the neighbors came over. And there was one guy, he came over and he had like 2 beautiful dogs. Another person came over, and it was just a nice young family. And another person came over, she was like a lawyer, and her husband came over. And I was like, what's going on here? Because my viewpoint of the area, because I when I was younger, very young, my family went to church in the West End area. And so my viewpoint of the area was it's pretty low on the food chain type of area. And when I started meeting some of the people who are living there currently, I was surprised, because I was like, you have the money not to be living here, and you're living here. So what's going on? And when I started meeting the people, I was like, oh, wow, the people are selling the place. And I want to be someone who's helping them sell the place. And also, it was like one of the areas that supported me. And also, I started realizing that a lot of the people who were there didn't have friends that were real estate agents. While what happened on the east side was I would meet people at open houses and stuff like that. And they'd be like, oh, it'll be great to work with you. And then they're calling me up, couple weeks later, several weeks later, a month later, and they say, "Oh man, well, my friend referred me to a friend of his that's also a real estate agent, and I'm gonna be working with him." That happened numerous times. So when I started working on the West Side, that just was not happening. It was like, "Hey, I know Julian. Let me send you to him," and then I was just closing properties with them, especially at that time. And also, then I'm sorry.
I'll go. Finish your thought. Sorry.
Yeah, and then also then I started doing more research on the area. Before, I would call it like the topical real estate agent, where I just sold houses. Like, if you want to go in the area, okay, great. Well, let's go check out the house. I was more of like the residential, move-in ready real estate agent. And then when I came to Southwest Atlanta, I became the development future projects real estate agent. And I never thought about that until now.
Yeah. It's your reputation. First, hey, if you want to move in primary residence, call Julian on the West Side. And then it's, hey, here, if you want a flipper, if you want an investment, if you want build a new home, or then eventually, hey, if you want any house in the West End, call Julian. Yeah. And then it's, if you want any house anywhere in Atlanta, call Julian. Are you still doing the Zillow advertisements or any sort of online marketing, or
no.
is that was just how you kind of broke the ice to begin?
After they kind of went for Agents Next, I kind of I didn't give them any more of my dollars. As you know, Zillow has an iBuyer program now, and they've just kind of I don't know. It almost seems like it doesn't almost seem. Zillow's using their money to come at the agents that have been supporting them for many years. So I didn't think that was very kind. What I do with Zillow now is I still put all my sales in there, just because it gives me I can't think of the word, but pretty much it enables me to be seen by other people. So if they're looking for an agent, like in Southwest Atlanta,
like in search engines and stuff, like if somebody types your name, Zillow is one of the ones that'll pop up. It's good for that.
If they say
sort of thing.
If they say that they're looking in the 30310, my name's gonna pop up just because of the amount of reviews that I have. But that's the reason how I first got into real estate in Southwest Atlanta. And then what happened was I wasn't gonna be able to sell just move-in ready residential because there wasn't very much. So the only way for me to do that part was to get more investors coming into the area to then fix up the homes. So then I would help the investors purchase the as-is properties, and then give them the ARV and all that jazz after repair value of the property.
There you go.
Yes, give them the after repair value of the property, and then I was helping them sell the property as the flip. And then a new homeowner would be moving into the property and rinse and repeat. There wasn't very many people who were moving. It was just all those homes that were in bad condition eventually were getting fixed up. So then I'm also seeing during those times that these homeowners these investors are buying properties, $70,000, and I'm hearing, I'm like, how are you getting this money? Because I'm thinking that they're coming through, with bounds of cash. And I'm finding out, oh no, they're using a hard money loan, which is essentially an investor product, much higher interest rates, but they're coming through using these hard money loans, buying these properties, getting them fixed up, and then taking the profits after the home is fixed up, and then I'm selling it for them. Sometimes they're pulling, tens of thousands of dollars of profit at the end of the time, just because the market was moving up so quickly.
And I think this is a great lesson for real estate agents is what I'm hearing you say, and I think this is a great strategy, is basically you turn one listing into three, or one commission check into three commission checks. Mm-hmm. You're either helping someone sell an as is, beat up, fixer upper property. That's one commission check. You go find the investor to buy it. And so you're double ending it. So you find the investor to say, hey, come purchase this property. So that's your second commission, or both sides of one transaction. And then after it's fixed up and renovated, then you're helping that investor sell that property. And that's a third commission check at a much higher property value.
Yes.
And so you get 3 commission checks on one listing. And I think that's an amazing strategy. And some agents will just say, oh, I got a fixer upper who wants to buy it. And you're like, well, let me go find the buyer for this, and then let me go help them sell it. And then what happens is that investor is, wow, Julian's awesome. Go find me another one, Julian. Right. And you just rinse and repeat that strategy. I love that.
Yeah. And what I got to the point was I started getting them. For me, the rates were so low at first, I was just happy to sell something again, because I was looking at it like my highest paying job was $60,000. So I was like, I'm getting, even with these rinky dink houses, I'm getting, at least, I don't know, $1,000, $2,000 off of it. Like, it doesn't take much to, they're the easiest sales. And as is property, people already know it's bad. They write these contracts closing in 14 days. Really, it's about how quickly the investor, the bank can clear the title on the house. And you close on it and you get your check and you're like, okay, well, that was it. And, you keep it moving. So at first I was doing that. And then I was like, I started a minimum commission. So then I went from just whatever the commission that the agent was paying to, look, I went first to like 1,500 minimum commission, and then I went to 2,000, 2,500. Now it's 3,000 minimum commission for showing, for selling any. Now it really doesn't matter because the values in those areas, have gone up. But at that time, I mean, there's some homes that I sold as low as like $20,000. So at 3% commission off of $20,000.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You'll spend more than on your Zillow leads. Right.
Yeah.
I like the idea of just kind of learning from you and thinking through, like, what do you think the future realtor, 10 years from now is going to look like? You touched a little bit on the iBuyer program, and that kind of made me think about, like, what do you think? Like, where do you think things are going? If you had a crystal ball, like 10 years from now, what does your life look like as a realtor? Like, are you still selling? And where do you think the industry is going?
In 10 years, I can see iBuyer programs picking up. I think that there's a market for anything. So whether if someone wants to use an iBuyer program, they can. There's companies like there's companies like Redfin. There's people who enjoy using them. There's also been times where I've gotten clients because Redfin has been so busy. I mean, for example, with Redfin, their process, or how the agents get paid with Redfin, is they get paid on a salary. They might get paid a small commission on top of it, but they're mostly getting paid off of a salary. And Redfin also pays for their gas, and they are employees, and they get worked to the bone. So what happens is someone's using a Redfin agent, they might not get in touch with their agent or whoever they're trying to use, and then they ended up calling me because they really wanted that property, and then all of a sudden getting whatever discounts that Redfin gives them went out the window. With an iBuyer program, it might be cool because someone just says, hey, I just want to sell my house. I don't want to make the most amount of money out of it. I just want to sell my house. And in that situation, if you just want to sell your house and keep it moving, you're happy with whatever number that they give you. I mean, that's your prerogative. But most people, especially the people I run into, want to make the most amount of money off their house. If they want to make the most money out their house, they're going to want to use with an agent, especially an agent that's knowledgeable about their area, and it's going to be able to sell their homes.
Yeah, I can see that too. It's I think there's a market for that iBuyer, for that client, just like there's a discount brokerage client there, and there's a high-end, hands-on, very tactile client.
Yep.
It's just a different client. There's a product for whatever you're looking for.
Yeah.
But I do feel like you lose out on, like, when you don't have an agent that's like, you're motivated, like you said, your minimum commission is $3,000, right? Like if that buyer calls you at 9 p.m., you're going to pick up the phone and deal with it, versus, like, I know even in the lending industry, like a lot of the bigger firms, like the loan officer will make like $200 commission a deal, and they just do a ton of them. So guess how motivated that loan officer is, or that agent that's on commission, versus somebody who's like, hey, this is my next paycheck right here. Just phone call, this is my next paycheck, right? It's just a huge shift. And that's one of the disadvantages, I would say, of this program.
It was also a great way to get rid of the crap investors.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Because if someone doesn't believe your information that you're giving them is worth a $3,000 commission, they're probably not worth your time in the first place.
That's a good way to look at it. Yeah.
And so what happened was, because I would get so many calls from Zillow and stuff like that time with investors, because at that time it was just it could be a two dudes in a tool belt type situation. Like, I'm an investor, and anyone can say they're an investor. How many homes have you purchased? Well, none. But I'm an investor. Okay. All right, guy. Well, anyways, this has been a great conversation. I just want to, before we even go any further, I just want to let you know that I have a minimum commission. It's a $3,000 commission. If you're okay with that, we can continue the conversation. If you're not okay with that, that's perfectly fine. And I wish you the best, in finding whatever properties that you're looking for. And then they get to make the decision if they want to continue or not. Regardless.
So you charge minimum on the buy side or the sales side, or both?
No, on the buy side.
Oh, okay. So if they're buying a $20,000 house, you're like, oh, I love that.
Yeah. Well, because the thing is, on the sales side, I mean, it just wasn't. Maybe I was contacted by people on that side as well. But yes, on the sales side, it was a $3,000 commission. At least, further along, it got to a 3%, because it just didn't make any sense. For example, I was doing some sales in the Grove Park area, and one of my listings was $28,000. Well, it had a minimum commission there.
I have a funny side story about, just kind of like working with investors. Like you said, I remember, like, when I was doing like my prospecting, that's how I met Alan, was because I was prospecting to new real estate agents. He was a new realtor in town. And so I remember one of our first exchanges, he was like, I'm an investor moving down from New York. I'm going to be buying these properties in Atlanta. And I was like, oh God, here we go. Another war dealer.
The big dreams. Yes.
But I was like, no matter what, I'm going to answer his calls on a Saturday, and I'm going to work with him. It turned out to be the best.
You just never know.
You don't.
It's like some people I talk to, and I dismissed, or just I don't want to say dismissed, but I just kind of told them, like, I was getting so many calls from investors, and it was just so much. It was like just funneling through the crap to eventually like find a good person. Or, you get these calls from investors, and they're like, well, I'm not really working exclusively with anyone. So if you send me a deal, like, no, bro, that's not, no. Like, who do you think I'm sending the deals to? I send it to the people who are working with me, not the people who just wanted me to send them the deal. Like, you have literally no loyalty. So why am I going to send you anything?
So so for that newer agent, or that agent who wants to break into sort of the investor side, how do they vet out a legit investor? Or what process do you use besides, or is it just as simple as, hey, I've got a minimum commission and you have to exclusively work for me? Is that sort of, you just set the ground rules up front, or is there other ways?
My biggest thing was keeping, I wanted to do the sales on both sides. And at that time I had about like 3 or 4 people that I knew that if I brought them the deal, they would buy. Like, they were what I'm seeing is at these times when these neighborhoods are very low dollar, you're not getting the American buyer. You're not getting that person who's lived in the community for the last 20 years. Like, those aren't the people that believe in these neighborhoods at those times. Right. Or that have the money to buy in those communities at that time.
True.
You're getting the dude from Bangladesh. You're getting the guy from Australia. You're getting the guy who's seen this happen in New York and has seen it happen multiple times in New York, and then says, oh, I'm going to do this in Atlanta now. So those are, or from India, wherever, like those are the people that are then coming to Atlanta and doing this stuff. So then they see these communities and they look at these communities with rose-colored, glasses on, as opposed to the people who are living in town. Unfortunately, with the people who are living in town, they don't really get on board until the area hits like in the 300s, at 350s and stuff like that. Then all of a sudden they start coming, because at that time, for example, Marietta was the hot spot and Smyrna was the hot spot, and all the investors were focusing in Marietta. And not until about the 300s, 350s, those investors didn't start coming to like areas like Westview. And then it looked like a new construction facility was going on, because there were trash cans, those big dumpsters,
Right.
in all of these lots. But I don't think that was your question. I think I may have gone off on a tangent. So
no, well, that's good. Well, I wanted to also touch base on that. You're very active on social media, and wanted to, and it's not always real estate related, and wanted to, you've got a fitness sort of angle and training and running, and wanted to know if that is a purposeful sort of lead magnet sort of thing, or it's just you in your personal life and has nothing to do with real estate. And but it seems to be that you might have, in my opinion, replaced your Facebook ads and Zillow ads, or sorry, your Zillow ads with maybe Facebook sort of posting and social media.
I mean, a lot of my leads come through just a direct message off Facebook. I mean, I would say most of them come like as a direct lead, just directly off Facebook. I enjoy talking about what's going on the West Side. Again, I sell homes everywhere, but I learned very quickly when I was driving for Uber, when people asked me what area that I specialize in, I can't just say Atlanta because I look like a fool. I had to say, oh, I specialize in Southwest Atlanta, but I'm knowledgeable about many parts of Atlanta, and I can definitely help you buy or sell in different levels of Atlanta. Do I know? I mean, I can tell you about real estate in Southwest Atlanta, like looking at the back of my hand. But if you're looking at buying Kennesaw, I can give you, give me a little bit of time. I can do a CMA and I can tell you what the values are there. But I'm not as knowledgeable about that area. But with Facebook, I just enjoy talking about all the development that's coming on, because I know that's where the money is coming from, especially in Southwest Atlanta. On a yearly basis, the values in there have been going up about $50,000 a year with people getting equity in their homes. So when new development comes out, and it's spurred by the speculation of the new development coming into town or coming in the area. So whether it's West End and with the Lee and White development, or it's English Avenue with the Echo Street development and the West Side Quarry Park, or with the Microsoft purchasing 60 plus acres for $126 million. Like all that stuff spurts growth. And if you're able to, you can either be that person who is buying a beautiful palatial estate in areas like, let's just say, around Piedmont Park, or you could be, or you could be an individual that's like,
talk about Jasmine's house, right?
Oh no! I'm just, just throwing out a random
generic.
individual.
Okay.
Yeah, generic.
There's something nice about you, Julian. Yeah.
Or but you can be that person, or you can be the individual who is like buying a not so great place and waiting for the market to essentially, buying when the wave is, up high and you're down low, and then that wave comes, crashes, and then next thing you know, you end up at the high spot. So my tactics on every single property that I purchased myself. And also kind of my strategy on the West Side is that people are able to purchase at a much lower position and then ride the wave up. So
and do you find yourself, how do you stay in touch with these clients that you've sold homes to sort of let them know the equity in their homes, or um, is there, how does selling someone a house in this neighborhood benefit you right now when equity is going up? I would imagine you you would wait to sell their home 5 years in the future or something like that, or
Yeah, well, I think the interesting thing is right now it's well, this market's crazy right now, but it's essentially giving them an option to move to another area that they may have desired but never had the finances to move to.
okay, yeah,
For example, I had a client, great family, and they were living in West End and Westview area for many years, and they bought one house, their first house that they lived in after they got married. They bought, and you know, their mom moved into it, and then I helped them sell that house for like $200,000. And then the house that they were living in West End, they moved from that first house to the second house, and they were able to sell that house for about like $480,000. So all of a sudden, it went from a situation where they could only live in West End at that time to then they ended up moving to like the Chamblee Dunwoody area,
yeah.
because what was going on is their kids were going up to private school in town, and now they were able to go to an area with better school systems that worked better for them. And that whole situation just totally translated things. Now it was very interesting because those agents in the Chamblee Dunwoody area, I call them the blue hairs. They didn't believe that West End, could be changing that much.
Right.
So it was a situation of I almost had to like totally sell their home, and we had to write an offer that was non-contingent on the sale of the previous house to get a house, to get the house in that area, because the agents just did not believe that the values in West End had changed to that amount, that they were comparable to
Right.
Chamblee Dunwoody.
I think one thing, Alan, that I feel I want Julian to touch on here is I feel like going back to your social media strategy, I think that what you do so well and how you are staying in touch with your clients is your social media is very, very organic. You are not that agent that like posts, oh, I sold this house, here I am with a sign, none of your posts are that. All of your posts are like, this is what's going on in my neighborhood. This is what's going on in my life. You post stuff about your own finances, about paying off your home. This is what I'm doing for my budget. This is what I'm doing for my diet. Like, you are a very real person. And I enjoy your posts. Like, I literally, I have them, starred because I always learn something from you. And I think that there is an art form there. And I think that's how do you friend all of your clients? How do you make sure that everybody is in
the ones I like? I friend the ones I like. I know we all have those people that when it's over with, we're like, oh, all right, thank God it's over with.
What I hear is that you're providing value. Like
Yes.
if you're saying, hey, I sold this home, what value does that bring to anyone? It's like, well, congrats, you sold a home. But if you're like, hey guys, a new shopping center is going in around them, and it's going to be anchored by Whole Foods, that's going to be value, because that will affect you if you live in that neighborhood, if that's your commute, if you're looking for organic, groceries or whatever. So I think your content is value driven and not just, random data that no one's going to be like, I'll never have another conversation with someone that says, oh, Julian sold a house on the West End. But I will say, hey, did you know that the Whole Foods is coming in on, MLK or whatever it is, and so when I bet those other clients see that value, they talk about it, and they'll probably mention you. But if they don't mention you, they're thinking about you because they're like, oh, I saw this in Julian's, social media, that's huge.
And also my goal is to have more bodies in these homes. So I really want the best for the West Side. I mean, I want the best for Atlanta in general, but I want the best for the West Side because there's so many, especially in 2015, there were so many vacant homes. And there's still a lot of vacant homes that are in the process of, as is property or land or just things that aren't livable. So if you're able to tell someone, because, you drive down Bankhead Highway right now, and you drive down Bankhead Highway, it does not look pretty. But if I'm able to drive you down Bankhead Highway and I point to every single development that's going on, and I'm telling you that there's almost $1 billion of investment or over $1 billion of investment that's going on down there, and I tell you, and I drive you to where Echo Street Development is at, I drive you to where Westside Future Fund has purchased like over 100 plus homes, and they're working on them, and I'm showing you what they've already done. I'm showing you the entrance to the Westside Quarry Park, and I'm showing you where the front of it is, and I'm showing you where Brockbuilt is building, homes, townhomes that are starting at the $400,000 price point. Another one where they're showing stuff at the $500,000 price point. And I'm showing you all this stuff. Then all of a sudden you're like, I need to buy in this area like right now before these prices go up. Yeah. But the issue is, what happens is people don't venture down stuff until it's all fixed up. People don't think about Ponce City Market until it was opened.
Yeah, no one wants to be the trailblazer. They want to make sure it's a safe bet before they sort of put their own money into it.
But that's not where the money's made.
Yeah, exactly. So for the agent who wants to be that Julian who provides value, where do you find this information? Where are you learning about these developments and what's going in?
Yeah, so I mean, certain things I follow. Like I used to follow Atlanta Curbed, but that's no more.
What was the term that we're supposed to use? Bird. What was it? The bird.
The bird dog.
Yeah. And there's like Urbanize. I look at Urbanize. I follow the Atlanta Business Chronicle, and there's just there's also the Saratoga Report, and Saratoga Report's not sexy whatsoever. But there's just a whole lot of development news. Sometimes, City of Atlanta is posting certain stuff about the bonds or whatever that's coming out for specific developments. And then you're like, okay. For example, when Echo Street Development opens up, it's scheduled to open up in 2022. They're doing $17 million of investment on it right now. The whole project's supposed to cost like $285 million. When that thing opens up and people see what's going on there, man, the prices are going to explode. Just kind of like how Monday Night Garage, people weren't really walking on that bell line over there. And then when Monday Night Garage opened up, and then all of a sudden it became like a Walmart to the area, like people who weren't necessarily living in that area, who were coming from Virginia Highlands or Morningside or, Kennesaw, they would hop in their cars and specifically go to Monday Night Garage. And then they're like, what's going on here? Yeah. And then they start buying homes.
So just to clarify, Monday Night Garage is a brewery on the west side of Atlanta. And there's been a lot of development called the Beltline, which used to be an old train railroad station that's now sort of like a large sidewalk, but it connects all these neighborhoods that were not walkable before. So yeah, Monday Night Garage Brewery now, definitely people drive from the east side of town or north side of town to go there. It's a destination where this neighborhood was not a destination before. And obviously the people who bought properties before it was a destination have benefited tremendously. Then now prices have almost doubled. And so if you want to live in this destination area, you're not necessarily late to the game. You're later than other investors or homeowners, but there's still money to be made because now that Monday Night Garage Brewery is also attracting other commercial people because to make it even more of a destination, and it just sort of feeds upon itself, kind of thing.
Yeah. Now Lee and White is putting they're building another $85 million piece, an additional, hundreds of thousands of dollars of additional square feet there.
Yeah. So what you just said there, that's value. And that is like reading your social media, like, the developments that are coming. Yeah. So maybe as we wrap this up, what is your social media handles if you want to share that, or how can people sort of follow and learn more about you? What would you write?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Let me go to my Facebook and figure out what my social media handle is.
So you're not much of a self-promoter. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
I'm like, oh, what is my social media handle? Facebook.com/85Jackson.
All right.
Yeah,
And you mostly, is Facebook your sort of social media of choice?
Yeah, I use Facebook. I also use Instagram, but I like using Facebook more just because you can actually write stuff and it doesn't have to be. I like Facebook more because you can write stuff and talk about stuff. With Instagram, it seems like I have to put a pretty picture, and I'm not an Instagram model, so I just don't.
Don't get yourself short,
Yeah. Oh. Well. I always put the butterfly on my, on my head. Yes.
Every week I go to Jasmine and I'm like, Julian's one of those realtors who should have his face on the sign.
Yeah. All the time. Yes, I always have my face on the side. Yes. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I always learn so much. We've taken lots of notes. You're just a great inspiration, and I love your enthusiasm. And I'm so glad they fired you from those jobs.
Yeah, one of the things that I learned actually was when I was in the master's program. They said that every person who's done great things has had a really they hit a really low point. Whether it's like a situation where someone their family, or I'm talking about really low, like their family getting in a big accident and people dying or something like that. And it just makes this big, huge life change. So, I really mean it. When I got fired from those jobs, it put me in a mind frame to think that I need to look at this. Because if I was successful and did not get fired from those jobs, there'd been no way I would have looked into it. And again, it's the best decision I made in my life. It went from me living at my mom's house in 2012 to about 2014 or 2000, maybe late 2013, early 2014 to, now I own 2 homes and 2 pieces of land in Atlanta. So, it's in that short period of time. So it's been a huge, huge blessing. And I'm glad I decided to make that move.
Well, we are too. And thanks for joining us here at Agent Upgrade. I think people are going to learn a tremendous amount from your stories and sort of who may be facing that adversity. Maybe they got fired from their jobs and it could spur them to be the next Julian Jackson.
We'd love
That'd
that.
be great. Taking your business away.
Thank you, Julie.
Hey, my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for tuning in to this awesome episode here on Agent Upgrade. You can get more information on our website, which is agentupgradepodcast.com. And I am your co-host, Jasmine Cornetton with jasmineteam.com at Waterstone Mortgage.
And Alan Corey here. Thanks for tuning in. I teach real estate info for everyone at thehouseofac.com. Guys, we'll see you next time on Agent Upgrade.
Thank you for listening to the Agent Upgrade podcast. If you are an agent looking for a new mortgage lender, start with Jasmine at jasmineteam.com. If you want to learn about real estate investing and working with investors, check in with Alan at thehouseofac.com. See you next time on Agent Upgrade.